It's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead, and I'm back today to continue reading the book, The Hermit of the Mad River. This is from the D.J. Dillon series. I hope you've been enjoying it. If you have, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think about it, or what you think is going to happen next if you want. If you are just finding my channel, I think I'm on book 7 of this D.J. Dillon adventure series. I have recorded them all, and you can go back to the playlist that says Stories for the Young at Heart. You can watch them all. All right, so we're on chapter 8 now, but yesterday, if you remember, the brindle pit bull was right behind Kathy Staggs, but she didn't see it. DJ and Alfred, they knew that was a very dangerous dog. Well, when she was talking to this Thad friend of hers, she took a step back and stepped right on the dog's foot. So, let's see what's going to happen next. Clue in a town about to drown. Instantly, the brittle pit bull swung his head towards the back of Kathy's leg. DJ opened his mouth to yell to the unsuspecting girl, but it was too late. The brindle's powerful jaws snapped. At the same time, Kathy glanced down to see what she'd stepped on. Instantly, she reacted. Thad hadn't moved. DJ saw the pit bull's teeth click harmlessly together. He missed her. The dog looked up at Kathy. The slightly curved tail moved sideways in a tentative gesture of friendship. The other two dogs kept trotting. DJ and Alfred slowed as the bigger animals passed. Then the boys broke into a run through the rain. As they neared Kathy and Thad, the brindle's tail stopped wagging. He turned from Kathy and Thad to face DJ and Alfred. The dog's hackles went up, and he lowered his head. DJ stopped dead still. He threw his right arm up to check his friend's advance. Stop! Both boys stood still on the sidewalk. The pit bull did not growl or bark. He just stood there with his hackles raised and his head lowered, watching the boys. "Don't move," DJ whispered to Alfred. "I'm too scared to move," Alfred whispered back, his voice shaky. DJ raised his voice slightly. "Kathy, back up slowly. Circle around him and get inside the store. You too, Thad." Kathy hesitated, then answered, "This looks like one of the dogs that attacked Hero." "Don't take chances," DJ warned, his eyes never leaving the brindle. DJ's mind was racing, trying to think of something he could use as a weapon. He couldn't think of anything except his belt, and that might only cause the dog to attack. Out of the corner of his eye, DJ saw Thad had automatically raised his hands in a defensive position. His coat sleeve stuck out of his tan raincoat. Thad slowly backed up and around the pit bull towards the nearest store door, but Kathy didn't move. "Nice doggy," she said soothingly. "Nice dog." DJ was surprised to see the brindle's hackles lower. He turned his head to look up at Kathy. His tail wagged once. "I think he likes me," she said. "Well, he sure doesn't like us," Alfred whispered. DJ raised his voice slightly. "Kathy, see if you can get him to go on after the other dogs. Quietly. Don't make any threatening moves." She answered, "Okay, but maybe he likes girls because boys and men have been mean to him." She bent slightly toward the dog. Her reddish gold hair spilled over her shoulders, hiding her face. "Don't try to figure him out," DJ warned. "Just see if he'll obey you and leave." "You're a nice dog," Kathy said gently, "but you better go on with your friends. Go on. Now, go. She gently waved her left hand in the direction the two dogs had went. The brindle's tail moved twice in short sweeps. Then he turned and moved towards DJ and Alfred. They held their breath as the dog eased past them. The boys' heads spun around so they could watch the pit bull. He broke into a quartering trot and disappeared around a corner into the alley. Let's see what a quartering trot is. Well, usually it tells us what everything is. Oh, here it is. Quartering trot. The term given to the way a dog's legs move when he trots, seemingly not straight ahead, but slightly to one side, about a quarter of the way off center. Okay, so that's what that meant. Didn't remember that from reading it with my boys. Phew, DJ let out a great sigh of relief. That was close. Kathy, are you all right? Yes. She bent to examine her clothes. I heard him snap, but he didn't touch me. There's not a mark on my jeans. Dad ran out of the store waving his arms. That dog's a menace. He could have bitten all of us. DJ nodded. What if it had been a little kid who had stepped on his foot, or an old person like my grandpa? Dad nodded vigorously. Where's his owner? Why is he letting that dog run loose? I'm going to report this. DJ said, won't do any good. Alfred and I were just over to the sheriff's office and the animal control officer's not around. This is in the city, not the country. The police should handle this. So I'm going to report them. DJ was embarrassed. As a newspaper stringer, he should have remembered the difference between the police and the sheriff's duties. DJ reacted by being more annoyed with Thad. Thad didn't seem to notice. He smiled at Kathy. Will I see you at the demonstration against the dam? Just let me know for sure when it's scheduled. I've never been to an environmental demonstration before. See you later, Thad. DJ glared at Thad as Thad hurried off through the rain and wind. DJ didn't like the way he was feeling, but it seemed nothing was going right. Well, at least nothing could go wrong with touring Yellow Dog. The rain was coming down harder when Brother Paul dropped DJ and Alfred off at the old ghost town. The lay pastor and Kathy planned to visit nearby friends, but would return in half an hour to pick up the boys. Yellow Dog was a remote, rural, foothill community on a side road, too tiny to even be listed on most maps. Yellow Dog was in the 1,500-foot level of elevation downstream from Indian Springs. The dam just below Yellow Dog would force the impounded water to back all the way up the canyon to the Hermit's home in the 3,500-foot elevation close to Stony Ridge. DJ and Alfred jumped under a long wooden overhang that ran the length of the main street's mostly closed stores. Most people had already moved away because the little town would soon be underwater when the dam was completed. Alfred was always good at recalling facts. He commented on what he remembered about the tiny community. Gold was first discovered in 1850, but there wasn't much of it. So Yellow Dog didn't grow like many gold rush towns. Incidentally, it got its name from a miner who threw a rock at a stray yellow dog, and the rock turned out to have a nugget in it. Later, Yellow Dog was a Pony Express relay station, and still later, a stagecoach stop. Their boots clumped loudly on the wooden boardwalk under sagging overhangs built long ago against summer sun and winter rains. A boardwalk is like a sidewalk, but it's made with boards. The friends passed the town's combination grocery store, cafe, and gas station. DJ pointed, there's a couple men sitting over on that bench by the caterpillar tree. I think we should find out what the caterpillar tree is. A shade tree found in California's foothills. The catalpa, I said it wrong. Catalpa has very large leaves and bell-shaped white flowers. Well, now we know what that is. I will interview them for the paper. He unzipped his windbreaker and pulled a folded piece of paper from his shirt pocket. Mr. Kirsten, the editor, had long ago warned the boys never to be without a way of making notes for a possible story. What do I do with my pen? DJ asked absently, feeling in his pants pocket. Alfred didn't answer. Most of the people who lived here had already moved away. There are more tourists here than residents. DJ continued to feel through his pockets while his eyes swept over the town. An old bell still hung from the narrow tower above the narrow firehouse. DJ had toured the community before, so he remembered that the firehouse originally had been built for a hand-pulled horse cart. Later, there'd been a horse-drawn engine, and finally, the ancient Liberty fire truck that still served the community. As DJ pulled the windbreaker pockets out, searching for his pencil, something sailed through the air. It landed on the broken asphalt pavement. "What's that?" Alfred asked, squinting through his thick glasses at the object glistening in the rain. "I picked it up at the Hermit's," DJ replied. He hurriedly stepped out from the sidewalk shelter, picked up the object, and quickly jumped back under the shelter of the wooden sidewalk overhang. "It's just a button." "Yeah, well, it's no good to me." He tossed it into the overflowing wooden trash barrel. I've never seen one of those. "Oh, here's my pencil. Now I can take notes." "Those men look sort of rough and mean," Alfred said uncertainly. "Long hair, beards, old clothes. People are people. Besides, whenever I tell people I work for the newspaper, they usually cooperate. You'll see." He was right. The townspeople on the bench, after assuring themselves that DJ really was a stringer for the county newspaper, began talking. A prematurely bald man growled, "I wish somebody would blow up that dam. It's driving me out of this town where I was born, and my father, and his father before him." DJ leaned forward from his seat to the edge of the bench. "Do all of you feel that way?" Another man nodded, stroking his long, untidy brown and gray beard. "Sure do. We'd take it as a personal favor if somebody did dynamite it." The third person, a small, dark man with one missing front tooth, joined in. "Only reason why somebody don't do it because all the people downstream would drown." DJ mused. "But the dam's not completed. There's no water behind it yet. How could people drown?" "I meant later," the man answered. "All them demonstrators coming up here and acting like it's already full of water." DJ thought of Kathy, who'd always represented environmentalists to him. She was about as nice a person as DJ knew. He asked, "What do you fellows think of environmentalists?" The balding man said to the dirty bearded man, "Tell him, Mike." Mike stroked his beard thoughtfully. "I used to work at a mill up north where a guy got badly hurt when his saw hit a spiked log as it came down the belt." Now that's where somebody had put a spike in the nail, or in the log, and a spike is like a giant nail. The saw was spinning thousands of revolutions a minute. When the teeth hit that spike, the saw blade exploded. Pieces went through him like shrapnel in Nam. Shrapnel is little pieces of metal, and Nam, they're talking about Vietnam when there was a war. He was hurt really bad. The balding man growled, "We've all worked the mills, so it could have happened to any of us." DJ remembered reading about the incident. Radical activists, environmentalists were to blame. Authorities said the radicals had gone through stands of timber waiting to be cut. They randomly drove railroad spikes so deeply into the log that only the head remained. Nobody in the mill saw the spike until it was too late. That one is one of only several incidents, Mike explained. One police officer called them acts of terrorism. The dark-complexed man explained, "Don't get us wrong. We know there are good people and bad people everywhere, including environmentalists. It's the radicals that scare us. Personally, though, I'd be glad if the dam did get blown up." Brother Paul drove up and honked. The boys thanked the townspeople and jumped into the pastor's car. By the time Brother Paul dropped DJ off at home, it was just getting dark. The wind had died down about sunset, but the rain was still falling with a deadly, tireless purpose. DJ called the veterinary hospital. "No change? Still fighting the infection?" Later in his room, he emptied the contents of his pockets on the bedside table. He automatically checked his clothes for Sunday school, as he'd learned to do. He usually didn't have to wear a coat and tie, but it would be Easter, so he would then. He took his only good white shirt from the dresser drawer and noticed that the top button was loose. He'd have to ask his stepmother to fix it, but he would do that later. He turned to his desk. After sorting through scribbled notes, he began to work on a story about the people of Yellow Dog. He typed up his article on the typewriter he'd won in a magazine contest. Two Mom knocked on DJ's doors. "You're not forgetting your report for Sunday school, are you, DJ?" The boy groaned. Ugh. He'd forgotten. "I don't have any ideas yet." "You better think of something." Two Mom's footsteps faded back into the hallway. The interruption had destroyed DJ's train of thought. He glanced at the notes, his finger poised over the typewriter keys, thinking back to the interview in Yellow Dog. Suddenly, DJ's head snapped up. "Hey, that button I found at the Hermit's?" He stood up. "But it doesn't make sense." He raced into the living room where his father and stepmother were watching television. "Dad, to Mom, I know who framed the Hermit with the dynamite and then bailed him out of jail, and why. He's going to be blamed when the dam blows up." Two Mom stood up in alarm, her short blonde hair flying. "What are you saying?" "Yeah," Dad agreed, standing to face the excited boy. "What's the matter with you?" "I've got to see Mr. Ziering right away and warn him. Nobody's going any place in this rain. Now calm down and tell us why you're so upset." And that's the end of that chapter. I'm not sure what clue he found, but we'll find out tomorrow. So I will read you another story tomorrow. Hope you join in. Hope you have a wonderful day and night. May God bless you in your house, out of your house, in the day and in the night. Whatever you do, keep dreaming.